Dr. Keith Adams is the president of the CKA SAVE Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. He is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college levels. He has won numerous championships and epitomizes professionalism. Coach Mike Franchise Francis is one of the most successful football and basketball coaches in the state of Maryland. He too is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college level and is self-admittedly a little rough around the edges. Both men have mentored countless student athletes, teachers, and coaches using their unique methods and approaches to leadership. Both men also share a unique and special friendship that was cultivated often through their unique perspective of life and leadership. Dr. Adams through his extensive educational background and Coach Francis through his life experiences. Can these two men share a podcast without driving each other crazy? Welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast.
I'd like to formally introduce myself. My name is Dr. Keith Adams. I am a career educator and coach for over 30 years. I've worked in both the academic and athletic worlds, and those worlds collided to help me form an educational nonprofit called the CKA SAVE Project. CKA is Coach Keith Adams because I'm still a coach, and SAVE is an acronym, Student Athletes Valuing Education, and project is just that, a project. A project is something we think would work. So I'm truly excited about the opportunity to just share my little bit of knowledge. One of the things I've learned in the doctoral process is if you think about yourself at the ocean and you have a pebble, you throw that pebble out in the ocean, it drops and then it ripples. So it's the ripples that we care about, not that initial drop. And that's what I've hoped my research and our organization does, is provide the ripple effect to just make people pause and think a little bit. I am so humbled and pleased to do this with my good friend, Mike Francis, Coach Franchise. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the people.
Yes, how y'all doing? I'm Mike Francis, as he said, a.k.a. Coach Franchise. I am a long-time coach and educator myself. One of the biggest things I think that brings me a lot of joy is providing mentorship in the community. That's one of the things that I do. If you look at me, no matter what it's been, I've done counseling, I've done mentoring, I've done all kinds of things to help people. And I just like to make sure that when we're going through processes and we talk about sports a lot. And I want to say that myself and Dr. Adams, we've been doing this for a couple of years now. Like we've had a podcast when it wasn't a podcast, so to speak, because we always call each other when sporting events are going on, news, everything. And we have this conversation, and we've been having 10, 15-minute conversations for years now. So we decided to string those conversations together and develop a podcast and bring it to you. So thank you. And as time goes on, you'll get to see how we are personally and how we like to talk about sports.
On today's Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis wrap up the 2020-2021 college basketball season with their unique insights and perspectives. Welcome to today's show.
Shaka Khan. Shaka smart.
Yeah, Shaka smart. Shaka smart.
I love how smart he is.
Yes.
Genius.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I'll tell you one thing about Shaka that I love is, one thing that we always tell our kids as coaches, tell our students, never stop growing, never stop looking to be better, never stop looking to do more. Shaka smart to me, what he's doing now with this move, I liken it to Mike Locksley coming back to Maryland, on a different, I like that. I like the way they did it. I like the way he's going home. I feel like he's going home. And I just hope that the school is willing to, put behind him what they did with everyone else, as they did with Wojo. And I two things. I didn't realize that Wojo was at Marquette for 6 years.
Goes back to that mediocrity we talked about a segment or two ago.
But he was 128-95. This was his first losing season. Now, I'm happy to see Shaka Smart get the job, and I understand that. But what I don't like is to see coaches, who do so well, and then one season they be judged. Don't be judged, no matter who they are, But we both know we've seen guys get fired after going to the tournament or winning Coach of the Year. I didn't want to put your name out there.
Okay, it's okay. I'm not mad. And Woj is a good guy. Heck, he's local. Mm-hmm. But again, What did you do? It all comes down to what you care about. What are you attempting to make your organization to be? Because the doctorate is in organizational leadership. Mm-hmm. And if you were sitting next to Woj, is the ship going the right way or the wrong way? You can see the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Now, whether you want to do whatever, as somebody who's divorced, I have no ill will. But when you see it's not going the right way, we don't wait until the boat sinks. We politely get our vest and get up and save yourself.
We tell our students, when the water's at your ankle, come for help. Don't wait till the water gets at your neck and then say, Mr. Francis, can you help me with this paper?
So for Shaka, he sees what Texas is like. I've had the pleasure of being on that campus at the Black Student Athlete Summit. I've had a chance to present there. I've had a chance to talk to Ricky Williams and a lot of Texas folks. And I know, historically speaking, being a person of color there in a management role is not always the most pleasant experience. I think I said that right because I continue to work on my verbiage. So to be able to leave before they make me is the goal of any job.
Well, that's my goal. I always tell people that the proudest thing I can say is I've always left on my own. That's one thing I can always say. You know, I left on my own.
You can.
But to be honest, to what you're saying, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But Texas ain't the only place it's hard for us with leadership role. You know, a lot of people aren't happy with our success. A lot of people still to this day don't like to see the power that minorities get. They don't like that there's a certain stature that comes along with it, and maybe they feel intimidated by that. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. But Texas definitely amplifies the fact that as a minority man, he's got to look over his shoulders all the time.
And I don't think Shaka's a bad coach. I think he's one of the best coaches, and it still comes to recruiting. And good luck with recruiting and all of that. But here's where I have always wanted players and coaches, no matter what the sport, but especially football and basketball, to actually have those conversations in terms of why are you selecting the school? And does the school have people of color in primary positions, if that's what you guys are caring about? When I hear young people say, hey, we're not property, we're not this, we're not that, hey, fight all you want. That's great. But when you pick a school and that school's president is this, and the AD is this, and the coaches are that, the head coaches, excuse me, and the only person of color you see was the person who recruited you, you can't then come back a year later and say, I'm going to go to the transfer portal. No. That's why I have never had an issue with anybody on the league, because you picked wrong in the first place. And that's part of what I try to teach any student, any athlete, any coach, no matter what level. You have to do a better job of picking. And Shaka, when he left VCU, he made the wrong choice. And here's why I say he made the wrong choice.
Okay.
He talked to his accountant because Texas has money. And you take all the paper you can get, but you were in a position where you could already go to the Final Four. You could already do whatever it is you wanted to do, and you had the backing and the support of administration. And Big John, God rest his soul, I miss him to this day, told me something when I was a young coach chasing those dreams that we all chased at the hoop group and everything else. And he said, if you are ever in a position that you can't do the job you were hired to do, you have to leave. You have to leave, because they're going to get rid of you. And Shaka was in a position that he couldn't do the job in the manner he wanted to do, so he had to go because the players cared about that guy. And I actually had Texas going far, and in our private conversation, I said, man, when that player was talking about his coach, that was love. So when they lost, and yeah, they lost to Abilene. You can't lose Abilene.
Abilene Christian.
I don't care what your name is. You can't lose to Abilene Christian. So yeah, he did the right thing. You got to go. You can't.
Yeah,
I can't. I don't want that first press conference.
No,
I can say, well, we enjoyed our time in Texas and we're happy to be in Marquette. I could do that promo. But man, if I had
this made me come up with another question for you. I'm gonna throw one at you, a little impulsive thing here to see how you react to this. Okay. I'm a big believer that sometimes programs or coaches who come in after a tough hiring, firing, a bad situation, there's a little karma that comes along with it from at the school. For instance, let's check out Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes went to the tournament 16 out of 17 years, gone. Okay. Ralph Friesen, we talked about it. Ralph Friesen, the way they did him, we were at the bowl game and Edsel was at the school touring. Like, it was crazy. Okay. So then you see what happened there. So Dean Smith, Brad Doherty, like you kind of think of it like when there's something a little funny with the hiring or the way the school goes about it, I believe it puts karma on the next staff. What do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
That is interesting because in the school system, it's the same way with the principal. I have been at a school where we've had 5 principals in 10 years. So that turnover is interesting, and you try to usually get the opposite of what you had until you find that right mix. So Texas is always going to be a profile job, but Texas has to remember something as well. Shaka left you.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever you bring in still got to win.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't won. No Texas team won the Big 12 in X amount of years anyway.
Since Rick Barnes left.
So Kevin Durant ain't walking through that door for one more year. And for all of you who don't get young people, that Oz of Texas thing is going to weigh on you. Because if I'm recruiting against you, I'm going to bring it up every time I see you.
That's your job.
It's the business. So you can have all the donors you want. They can be all as old as they want to be, but you're not recruiting an 80-year-old man. You're recruiting a 17-year-old who watches the news and saw what happened to George Floyd, saw what happened to Breonna Taylor, saw what was text and posted in terms of what that song meant. And when they do an independent committee saying by happenstance, Oz of Texas was racist, but it wasn't meant to be. Again, you loaded the weapon, and you're going to allow everybody in the Big 12 to fire. So we wish you all the best, Steve Sarkisian. We wish you the best. Whoever gets the Texas job, we wish you the best. But man, the proof is in who you bring in. And I don't know if you're going to get sustained folks with all of that going on. And
it's a lot.
It's
a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of people. To me, it's a lot of people to try to keep happy. And when you seriously, and when you're doing that, it's hard to recruit. It's hard to coach. It's hard to do things like that. You know, when you're trying to keep everyone happy. I was talking to a guy the other day who was at a school when Alabama came recruiting a kid from Good Counsel, and he said that Lane Kiffin landed a helicopter out that way. And then they said that we talked about him earlier, used to be at Maryland, James Franklin. He landed a helicopter in Baltimore County over at Eastonville Tech to come see a kid. And people ask, like, man, what are they like? There are donors who are donating these things. You know, Kentucky has a private jet, you know, because when they're donors, want to make sure they can get to those players. And I say that because at some point, keeping them happy is what keeps your job. And keeping them happy is what keeps your job. But then, like you said, they're old people. They're out of touch. And all they want to know about winning, they really don't, honestly, don't relate to the kid. They don't relate to the kid.
Keep that going.
Yes.
My doctoral research talked about that. And I used Clemson as an example in my own research. They built a lazy river. They have a barbershop. They have video lockers. And research clearly indicates that that doesn't sustain motivation because once it becomes a common practice, that's just Tuesday. So when they're cutting sports and they're cutting track and they're cutting wrestling programs, and Nick Saban and his two assistants make as much money as it takes to run the Delaware State University athletic department,
Yes.
it's really hard to listen to you when you talk about social justice issues or player empowerment, it's really hard to listen because you can cut one check and save a program. If that's what you want it to do.
If that's what it's really about. And we don't have it covered in here, but at some point we're going to have to go with this Deion Sanders thing. Which, we're going to have to do that. So
we will leave it with Deion loving Deion.
Yeah.
All right. And with that said, we're going to leave for a brief commercial break.
Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA SAVE Project, is releasing a book this fall called Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. The goal of this book is to give greater insight into student-athlete motivation to improve student-athlete academic and athletic success through the lens of Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic journey, from being an underperforming student-athlete to an academic and athletic leader. This book is also designed to be a guide for student-athletes, parents, teachers, coaches, administrators, and anyone else who has a passion to help student-athletes succeed academically and athletically. You can pre-order your copy of the book directly from our website at www.ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. For more information about the CKA SAVE Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. You can follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA SAVE Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize.